Hi everyone, this is Amanda at Amanda's Booktopia. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, welcome back. And today I am here to share with you guys all the books I have gotten since my last book haul. So it's been a couple of months. Tomorrow is like the last day of February. We're almost to March. And I did get a decent amount of books, but not too crazy. I did not go crazy as much as I did in last year. So I did a little bit better in buying books. Some of them were gifts, not all of them, but I do want to share with you guys the ones that I recently acquired that I'm very excited to get into. And I also have my Book of the Month box for February I have not yet opened. So I figured I'd do that with you guys first. Before we get into all the other books, I'm going to go ahead and dive on into the Book of the Month for February. And I am very excited to share with you guys these books. All right, so I almost skipped the month. However, there was an add-on a couple of add-ons that I really, really wanted to get. And in order to get those add-ons, I had to pick something. And I read another book from this author before and have enjoyed it. So I figured I'd give her another shot with another one of her books. It was an early release for Book of the Month. I think it came out like later in February, but I got it earlier than that. But I decided to pick up Famous Last Words by Julia McAllister. I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by her. I did really enjoy that. I gave it 4 stars. So I figured, we'll give her another shot. See if I like this one. I don't know much about it. But all I know is there's a hostage situation developing in London. The police arrived, and apparently this woman's husband is the gunman. And what she does next is crucial because only she knows what the note he left behind that morning says. So, sounds interesting. I'm just going to give it a shot and see what I think. So, I'm excited to get into that. And then I got 2 add-ons. This one I am the most excited for. So I'm reading it in March. And I cannot wait to dive into this. And this is Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the second book in the duology with the Crimson Moth series. And the first book is Heartless Hunter, which was an absolute favorite of mine from last year. And the way that ended, I'm like, I cannot wait for the next one. And so I am psyched to continue this duology. And this is the conclusion. Yep, it says right here, it's the conclusion. So I cannot wait to see what Kristen has in store for us. The first one, the way it ended, I'm like, I need the second book. And I am so excited because I will be reading this in March, which I will share in my March TBR video. But I cannot wait to see how this ends. I am addicted, and I need to know what's going to happen. So I cannot wait. And then the last add-on that I snagged, I think this was actually an add-on from a couple months back. But I decided I really wanted to get the physical copy instead of waiting to get an audio. So that's what I decided to do. That is The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis. I've never read anything from this author before, but this one sounded really, really interesting. We have 2 different timelines. We have Egypt in 1936, and then we're in New York City in 1978. It's historical fiction, for obvious reasons. And in Egypt in 1936, this woman is offered a coveted spot in an I can't talk today. Archaeological dig. So she's like an archaeologist or something like that. And then some kind of tragedy strikes. And then we're in New York City with another woman who's 19. And this woman, Annie, is thrilled when she lands an opportunity to work for former Vogue fashion editor Diana Vreeland, who's in the midst of organizing the famous Met Gala. And then Charlotte, who's a woman from 1936, is now leading a quiet life as the associate curator of the Met's celebrated Department of Egyptian Art, and she's consumed by her research on this female pharaoh. It was dismissed by other Egyptologists as unimportant, and then the night of the gala, one of the Egyptian art collection's most valuable artifacts goes missing, and there are signs that this female pharaoh, her legendary curse might be reawakening, and so the two women team up to search for this missing antiquity, and Charlotte swore she never returned back to Egypt, but she does, and they have to try and find this artifact, and it sounds fascinating to me. I love stuff from, like, I've always been interested in Egyptian folklore because I've always been fascinated from that time period. I even did I remember in school, I think it was elementary school, I did a whole report on Nefertiti. So I really enjoy books from that time period, and I love learning more from um I love learning more pharaohs that I haven't heard of before. So this one I have not heard of. So I am very excited to see where this one takes me. I am super excited. And then there's a book of the month bookmark in here. It says guaranteed climax every time. I love that. Submitted by Michaela S. from Inwood, West Virginia, member since 2020. Cool. Thanks, Michaela. I will take that bookmark. And those are my book of the month books for the month of February. Now to get into the other books that I have accumulated since my last book haul. So first I'm going to start with these two over here. These are from the same author, and I decided I want to do a taste test video during March to read both of these books. So I figured I'd give them a try. One of them I am buddy reading in March as well, which I will share in my March TBR with you guys. But we have Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati, which I've heard amazing things about, and I've been wanting to try it for like the longest time. And I got a great deal on it at Target. It was a buy one, get one half off for Target members. So I snagged this one, and I also snagged her newest, which is Babylonia by her as well. And this one also has stunning sprayed edges. And then it also has this stunning map on the inside for end pages. Absolutely stunning. And then there's like an indentation of a sword on the actual hardback itself. But I'm in love with these sprayed edges and these end pages. Stunning. And this cover, also absolutely stunning. So I will be buddy reading this in March. And then I want to do a taste test video of this author, see if I could really enjoy her writing. Stay tuned for that video. I'm very excited to read these. And then we also have another book that I have read previously, quite a few years back. And then I found in Target, there was a 10th anniversary edition. And I'm like, ooh, I have to get this. And I also wanted to do a reread on it at some point. So I am very excited for this. This is Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale that was made into a special edition for the 10th anniversary. And I love this cover. These sprayed edges are everything. I love these sprayed edges. And then there's these end pages of the Eiffel Tower. And as you can tell, there's a ribbon bookmark. That's blue. It's the same thing on the other side for end pages, right here. And I definitely want to do a reread on this. So at some point, hopefully very soon, I don't know if it'll be in March, maybe, we'll see. But I definitely want to do a reread because I had to have this stunning edition. So I'm very excited for that as well. And then I also have a sequel that I picked up for January for Fiction Falls. Our book club pick was The Stars Are Dying by Kosi Penaranda. And I enjoy that. I gave it like about 4 stars. So I decided I wanted to continue the series, and I bought the sequel, which is The Night is Defying, which has a stunning cover, stunning sprayed edges on this one as well. And then these actual hardback is beautiful. Let me show you guys. So we have this actual hardback. Stunning. I absolutely love it. Then on the back, it's also very pretty. It says they were her beginning and she would become their end. So that is awesome. And I cannot wait to continue the series and see where the story goes. Ooh, there's a pretty map in here too. Hold up. Let me show you guys this map. Ooh, there's character artwork. But here's the map. Let me see if I could show you a little bit better. Sorry. Ah! Stay. But here's the map. And then I flipped the page and saw character artwork. So I'm like, cool. And obviously this is part 1. But I'm hoping, if not March, I could get to this in April. We will see how it goes. But I definitely want to continue and see what happens with this series. So I'm very excited for that. And then I also got the Thrills and Chills book for March. I got a great deal on it. And that is That's Not My Name by Megan Lawley. Never read this before. I've never read it from this author before. I can't remember. Is this her debut, maybe? That could be why. But I'm excited to try something a little bit different. And it's a really short book. I could definitely read in like one sitting or like less than a couple hours maybe. Because it's so small. And the writing is not too small either. So I'm sure I could get this done rather quickly. And I'm very excited to read that. This will be my March TBR as well. And then another book that I picked up. I read another book from this author in February. The first book was Always Mine by Laura Pavlov, and I will talk about that in my February wrap-up. This is the second book of that series, Ever Mine. It has a stunning cover, also really pretty sprayed edges. And this one is about Hawk Madden and one of the sisters, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can figure out which sister. Oh, Everly. Okay. So it's Everly's story, and I am definitely looking forward to continuing a series because, continuing the series is always important. And I'm hoping I'm going to like this enough to keep going in the series. And I also got 2 more books. Target was doing a sale for Target members. And it was like spend over $25 and you get $5 off. And I needed to get cash anyway. So I decided to go ahead and get these books since they were on sale. And it was only for Book Talk books. So I got a couple of really popular ones here. They're dark romance, both of them. First one is Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. I've heard amazing things about this series as a whole. And I've always wanted to try it and never actually took the plunge. So I decided to finally buy it. And I am very excited to try out this series. Because I had never read anything from this author before. So I'm looking forward to trying a dark romance since I haven't read any dark romances in quite some time. At least not since last year. So I'm ready to give this one a go. And then the second book I decided to get in that deal is Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. I've heard amazing things about this book. I think I heard there's going to be a sequel, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it's going to be like a series or a duology. I'm not really sure. but I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book. I haven't heard a single bad review when it comes to this one. And when I was in the book section, I was talking with this girl, and I was looking at these books, and she recommended that I read Lights Out and Her Soul to Take. So I decided to grab them. And I am excited to go back into my dark romance era. So I'm excited to read both of these books very much. And then these next two books were gifts from my essay, right? I read the first book in the series, and then some of the girls, my besties, Dana, Kaylani, and Karina, recommended the series to Ray. And he started the first book and loved it. And I've already read the first book. So he decided he wanted to gift me the rest of the series so we could read it together. So we have Amari and the Great Game, because I already own the first one, which is Amari and the Night Brothers. So this I literally just read in one day yesterday. So I will talk about that in my February wrap up. But he bought me this one. And I also just started the third book today, which is Amari and the Despicable Wonders. I will be finishing this today, hopefully, so I could include this in my February wrap up as well. But I also found out on GoodReads, the author said that he's writing 2 more books of the series. So I'm really enjoying the series so far. Technically, my favorite in the series at the moment is the second book, Amari and the Great Game. So I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in the series. And then I got some more books that I brought over. I have in my cart right here. So before we get to some of them, I want to share some of the books that were gifts. If I could find them. Oh yeah, they're here. Never mind. All right, so these first 2 were gifts from my bestie Karina. She gave them to me, I think it was around Christmas time, and I didn't get to include them in my last book haul, so I figured I'd share them with you guys now. So we have Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a fairy tale retelling, and I love retellings. I'm not sure what retelling this one is. I can't remember. I think this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, if I'm not mistaken. And it's rather short. So maybe I could read this during Romathon for our Gala of Peace. I mean, it's rather quick. I'm sure I could probably get through it fast. And then the other book that Karina gifted me is Every Time You Hear That Song by Jenna Voris. And this one sounded really interesting. So it's a 17-year-old aspiring journalist, Darren Purchase, has been a lifelong fan of country music legend Deckley Castle, who's as famous for her classic hits as she is for her partnership with songwriter Micken Lee Hooper. The same Micken Lee who mysteriously backed out of the limelight at the height of their careers, never to be heard from again. Now Deckley's televised funeral marks the unveiling of her long-awaited time capsule. But when it's revealed to be empty, a trail of scavenger hunt clues unfolds, leading to a whopping cash prize for whoever finds the real capsule. Darren knows there's a story there, and she's going to be the one to break it. Even if it means a spontaneous road trip with her coworker Kendall. Flashback to 1963, when a young runaway, Deckley, has her sights set on fame and glory. As she claws her way to the top over the years that follow, it's Micken Lee's lyrics that help rocket her to stardom. But as her relationship evolves beyond the professional, it threatens everything Deckley has worked for. What else will she sacrifice to hold on to her dreams? And it's told in alternating perspectives and is a queer coming-of-age story celebrating country music, complicated women, and living authentically. And it says there's more to Deckley's story than Darren ever could have guessed, but the real story she has to tell is her own. So that sounds so fascinating, and I love books that have music in them, and I love country music, and I think this is going to be such a fun time. I might save this and read this in June for Pride Month because it sounds really good. So I'm excited for that. And then the next couple of books that I have here were actually gifts as well. I got these from one of the girls that lives on campus. She's another resident that lives in the community where I live. Her and her mom loves this author as much as I do. And she has some of her backlist that I have not read yet that I don't own. And she let me take them off her hands. So I'm excited to get to these ones. And these are all Frida McFadden books. So we have Do Not Disturb, Want to Know a Secret, and The Perfect Son. And I'm very excited to continue on my Frida McFadden journey. I have so many Frida McFadden books that I need to read. I've read a few, but I need to read more. So I'm very excited to get to more Frida McFadden. And then the next ones that I have coming up are also gifts. So let me pull those. These were all gifts from my dad. Oh, 2, 3, 4. I feel like there was one more. Am I missing one? I think there was 5. There's 5 books that my dad got for me. He was in town back in January and he took me book shopping. And he got me 5 books in total. So first we have Fortune's Kiss by Amber Clement. The reason why I picked this one up was because it reminded me of Caraval. But because I really love that series. And this one is very similar. It says for the first time in a decade, the legendary gambling den Fortune's Kiss has returned to Ciudad Milagro. The game is Loteria. As children, best friends Maite and Lorena made a pact to enter together, but much has changed. Strong, proud Maite, sole daughter of the disgraced Robles family, dreams of becoming a painter, while beautiful Lo suffers at the hands of her powerful and abusive father. Upon its return, the pair enter the mystical den. Once inside, they realize that beneath its glamour, the salon hides treacherous secrets, like the old predatory magic beating in its heart, and it is ravenous. Round after round, the girls scheme, lie, flirt, whatever's necessary to win. But when bodies pile up, all bets and friendships are off, as each girl learns exactly how far she'll go to ensure she leads victorious. See, this Loteria is no children's diversion. It is a deadly game of chance that may just eat them alive. So this sounds even more intense than Caraval, and I'm here for it. So I'm very excited. On the back it says, are you willing to risk everything for a chance to be kissed by fortune? Drink to let your soul be measured. I'm hoping this is going to be great because it sounds so interesting. Since I love Caraval, this sounds like a much darker version of Caraval. So I am here for it and I cannot wait. And then the other book that my dad got for me is All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles. I have recently started my Catherine Cowles journey. I've read a couple of hers. This one, I think, is a standalone. It's also a mystery, and it has pink sprayed edges, and it has a podcast element, if I'm not mistaken. And that's all I really know. I don't know a lot, but I am excited to give it a shot. But I am looking forward to giving this one a go and see what I think. I have read Whispers of You by her and Fragile Sanctuary by her. And I think I gave Whispers of You 5 stars and Fragile Sanctuary 4 stars. So I'm excited to see where I lie with this one. So I'm very excited for that. And then the next book my dad got for me is The Starlight Air by Amelie Howard. And I haven't heard anybody talk about this as in reviews yet. But I think Bree from 4 Paws in the Book, I think she's planning on reading this for March for Realmathon. So if she is, I might have to join her with that. I don't really know much. It's a romantasy. And this author, I believe, is actually a historical fiction romance writer, if I'm not mistaken. So I think this is her first foray into romantasy. And then I saw on the back some of my favorite authors have blurbed it. So we have Jennifer L. Armentrout that's at the top. Nisha J. Tooley, who wrote Trials of the Sun Queen series, blurbed it. Bridget Kemmerer, another author I really enjoy, also blurbed it. And Danielle L. Jensen, which I've read from before and really enjoyed as well. There's only another author that I've read from blurb this as well, so I didn't really like her book. So I'm not going to mention her name, but the other ones I've all read from and enjoyed. So I'm excited to see what my experience with this one is going to be. It says at the top, a bladesmith blessed by the stars, a prince with a dangerous secret, a god bound in shadows. So I'm excited to see what I think about this one. So hopefully I could get to this in Realmathon as well. And then the next one we've got is The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door, which is another book my dad got for me. And I haven't really heard anyone talk about this book, like as in reviews. I've heard maybe one or two people mention the book itself, but not that they've actually read it. So, but to me, it sounded really good. It sounds like it's a historical fantasy. It takes place in Camford in 1920. And it says, gilded and glittering, England's secret magical academy is no place for Clover, a commoner. She's there only to find a cure for her brother Matthew, one of the few survivors of a deadly fairy attack on the battlefields of World War I. When Clover catches the eye of Golden Boy Alden Lennox Fontaine and his friends, doors that were previously closed to her are flung wide open. But during the summer she spends in Alden's orbit, old and deadly secrets are unearthed. The consequences will only be truly understood many years later when it's too late. And it sounds so interesting. There's a lot of authors that blurb this on the back, and I've only heard of one. Olivia Atwater is the only author that blurbed it that I recognize the name of. Then there's Kat Howard, Elise John, Pratika H. Rao, Sylvie Catherall, Kel Woods, Rowena Miller, and Ryan Groden. Never heard of any of those names, but it sounds really interesting, and it sounds like something I would really enjoy. So I'm excited to see what I think of this. And then the last book that my dad got for me is Do What Godmother Says by L.S. Stratton. At first, I thought this would be like a retelling because of the godmother, but it's not. It's actually about something completely different. It says at the top, a modern-day writer and a Harlem Renaissance artist are connected by a painting with a deadly secret in this gripping Gothic thriller. And L.S. Stratton is also a BIPOC author. So I'm always wanting to give more BIPOC authors a chance. I think Fortune's Kiss, the author of that, is also BIPOC as well. So I'm always looking to try new authors, and this one sounds right up my alley. Because I actually know a little bit about art. So this takes place during the Harlem Renaissance, I believe. Well, it's about a painting from the Harlem Renaissance, I should say. Well, let me read you the back. Maybe it'll be better. It says, Shanice Pierce knows better than to heed bad omens, but she has a hard time ignoring the signs when she finds herself newly single and out of a job on the same seemingly cursed day. Then, while cleaning at her grandmother's house, Shanice comes across a painting she hasn't seen in years. Drawn to the haunting portrait in a way she can't explain, Shanice accepts her grandmother's offer to keep the family heirloom. She soon uncovers the story of the artist, a Harlem Renaissance painter named Estelle Johnson. The young woman was taken under wing by the wealthy art patron Maud Bachman, or godmother, as she insisted her artist called her, and vanished shortly after Bachman's brutal murder a century ago. As Shanice digs deeper, she becomes convinced she's being stalked, and that the deaths happening around her are connected to the staggering offer she turned down for the painting. But the truth hiding in plain sight is even more shocking and deadly than Shanice could have possibly imagined. which sounds really interesting to me. So I'm very much excited to see what I think of this book. I cannot wait to try it out. Let me get some of these books back up the cart so I have a little bit more room over here. All right. And let's go with the next few books that I've got. So this next book, I actually won from a GoodReads giveaway. And I think Clint and I are going to be buddy reading this in June for Pride Month. Because we both really want to read this. He says it's on a list for him. So I plan on getting it for him. So that way we can read it together. And that is Flirty Dancing by Jennifer Moffat. And it's not even out yet. So this is like an art copy. And it sounds so much fun. It says, well, it gave me vibes of Dirty Dancing. Like, it's like a kind of like a queer Dirty Dancing, I should say. It says on the back, Archer Reed is desperate to find his place in life. 5 months ago, he quit his soul-crushing accounting job in Ohio and moved to Manhattan with dreams of making it on Broadway. Now he has nothing but a string of rejections. A musical review at Shady Queens, a queer-friendly Catskills resort, is his last chance. He arrives ready to dance his heart out, only to discover he'll be working with his teenage celebrity crush, Broadway star Mateo Dixon. What is Mateo doing working at Shady Queens? Besides barking orders and glaring at everyone, he's not absolutely smoldering at Archer on the dance floor. With Mateo's baggage and the dance crew's drama, partying, flirting, breaking up, and making up, the show starts to fall apart. Archer learns that in dance, you can't always leave all your problems backstage. And one of the quotes on the back says, if you feel the heat every time there's a tango on So You Think You Can Dance, swoon for Strictly Ballroom, and imprinted on the summer camp vibes of Dirty Dancing. And look at this pose. That pose is Dirty Dancing. You cannot tell me otherwise. I mean, that is the same exact pose Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze do. Same exact. So, as soon as I won this, I'm like, yes, I cannot wait to read this. So, I'll be saving this for Pride Month. I cannot wait. Then I also ended up buying a new Freedom McFadden book, which is The Crash, which came out back in January. And I'm very excited to read more Freedom McFadden, like I said before. This one I bought. This was not a gift, but I know it's supposed to be very isolated, and it's supposed to be in very cold temperatures. And from what it looks like, it sounds kind of similar to No Exit. I mean, not quite the same as No Exit, but actually, it kind of gives you vibes of, what's that book called that I read from her? It was my very first Freedom McFadden that started me on this journey. It was a Thrills and Chills book last year. I'm trying to remember what the name of it was. Why can't I remember it now? It was my favorite Freedom McFadden book. I can't remember the name of the darn book. It was about a psychologist. If I can remember. I mean, but this sounds very similar in some ways, at least with this setup. So I'm excited to see where this one takes me, and it should be a lot of fun. So I'm excited. And then I also picked up, this is a second copy. I have another copy of this book. However, I wanted to switch it out because for the deluxe version, because this deluxe version has sprayed edges, and the copy that I have does not have that. So I'll be unhauling my other copy of this so I could switch it out for this one. So this is The Scarlet Veil by Shelby Mahurin. This has these stunning sprayed edges, and the other hardback copy that I have of it does not have that. So I'll be getting rid of the hardback so I could hold on to this one. Plus, it has these really cool, like, end pages, and it has these flaps that I think is kind of cool. And, and I know this is a spin-off to the Serpent and Dove series. I've only read the first 2 books in that series. I need to read the 3rd book so I could get to this one. I know the sequel to this one is coming out fairly soon, I believe. So I need to finish Gods and Monsters so I can get to this one. So I don't know when I will get to it, but I'm hoping soon. Because with the next book and this one comes out, I'm going to want to get that too. And this one has like vampires in it. This one's like Sealy's story, I believe. So I'm excited to get to that. And let me get these back on the cart. All right, now we have some more books. But we're getting closer to the end. So this next book, I read the first book in the series last year. It became one of my favorites of last year as well. So I had to buy the second one so I could continue the series because I haven't yet. I know one of the patrons I'm in did like a whole read along of the series, and I never got a chance to read with them. So I'm going to try and continue on my own time. But this is Vows and Ruins by Helen Schurer. I read Blood and Steel last year. I loved it. It was like an absolute favorite last year. And I really want to continue the series. Because of the way the first one ended, I definitely needed the second one. But I cannot wait to continue the series. I know we're following Althea and Wilder. I know in the first one, Althea, she wanted to be one of these true warriors of this group that, where it's in a world where girls are not supposed to be the ones to be warriors. It's all supposed to be males, but she wants to be the first female to do it. So she goes through these trials in the first book, and it's a romance that develops between her and Wilder. Wilder is one of those warriors, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So the way the first one ended, I need to continue. So now I have the second one. I would love to continue this. If not in March, maybe April, because I want to see what happens next, and I am very excited for that. Now, this next book, I have read this author's previous series. Absolutely love the series. It was such a good series. Not many people talk about this author, if at all. I very rarely see her mentioned, but she wrote the Frostblood series. And it very much gave me Powerless by Lauren Roberts vibes. And it was so good. And she just came out with a new book. And since I loved her first series, I wanted to get her new book and continue reading more of her books. Because she's only written that one series. She hasn't written anything else. So I honestly need to continue reading her books. So she just came out with The Forest Kane's Daughter. Ellie Blake is the author. And if you haven't read her Frostblood series, I highly recommend doing so. Personally, I think it's actually better than Powerless. It gives Powerless vibes, but I personally think the elements in it are way better. But this one is in a different world, completely separate from that. It says, and this is what it says. It says, once upon a time, among the blood-red trees of Thirstwood, a young forest princess became friends with a lonely boy from underground. He gifted her an amber ring, a worthless trinket, or so he thought, because no sooner did he slide it onto her finger than the queen of the underground and the forest king declared war. Years later, Cassia is a crucial force in her father's army, wielding her ring of light that can blind and disorient hundreds of enemies at a time. Then battle-hardened Zeru abducts her, planning to steal the ring back to fix his costly childhood mistake. Exhausted, terrified, and more than a little mistrusting, Cassia is forced to travel with Zeru to a place they both believed only existed in storybooks, one where their childhood friendship slowly rekindles into something much more. But it's only a matter of time before the worthy of escape comes for them, and a hidden threat to forest and underground folk alike grows in the shadows. and it sounds so interesting. And I'm very much excited to read this. I'm hoping to read this during Ramathon, possibly. If not, then definitely April, because I really want to get into this. And Adeline Grace also blurbed it on the back. And I really enjoy Adeline Grace's writing for the most part. And then Trisha Levenseller also blurbed it. Morgan Rhodes, another author. Mara Rutherford, which I've never read from yet. Nikki Powell Preto. So I'm excited to give this one a go and see if I can continue loving Ellie Light's books. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the next book I've got was a book that I got from Becky from Bex Reads. She put it on her Pango because she did not like the book. However, Jess from Honest Fiction absolutely loved it. So I tend to vibe a lot with Jess and the books that she likes. So I decided I'm going to try it. And this is Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. This is a Fairy Loot edition that I was able to steal from Becky, which I'm so excited that I have it. And it has that pretty sprayed edges. And then this cover, the back cover is so pretty. This is also signed from the author right here on the title page. So I was excited about that. And then also, you gotta see how pretty this is. We have this stunner of a book cover on the actual hardback. And the back is also absolutely stunning. And then these end pages. Look at these end pages. They're stunning. Absolutely stunning. And I think it's the same thing on the back. But they're so pretty, and I love the details on these Fairy Loot editions. I wish I could do Fairy Loot. Unfortunately, I do not have the money to do so. I was so lucky that Becky marked it down as low as she did. It was a steal. So thank you, Becky. And there we go. But I cannot wait to read this. I would love to read this for Realmathon as well. So we will see how that goes. We have the last 3 books of this haul. First off, I bought The Scorpion Queen by Mina Fears. This also has really pretty pink sprayed edges. I have not heard anybody talk about this book, but I really, really wanted it ever since I heard about it originally. And it sounds really, really good. So let me tell you what it says. It says, deep within the imperial palace in Timbuktu, Aminata, however you pronounce that, has suffered a devastating loss. The daughter of a prosperous salt merchant, Amy finds her life is cruelly overturned in a matter of months. At 16, she is disinherited, framed for a scandalous crime, and forced to serve Princess Mariana of Mali. Mariana's father, Emperor Suleiman, has created a series of impossible trials for his daughter's suitors. When they fail, he publicly boils them alive, littering Mariana's path to marriage with 99 corpses. At first, Amy's life at court is drudgery. The chores are difficult, the servants despise her, and Princess Mariana is prone to mood swings. But the more she learns about the princess's circumstances, the closer the two girls become. Amy and her intended, Cater, plan to escape Timbuktu and make a new life far away from the shadow of death that has fallen upon the emperor's court. But Amy finds herself increasingly drawn to the princess in ways she doesn't understand. When a mysterious discovery forces her hand, she must choose between fleeing with the boy she loves and helping the princess to end the trials forever. Amy will need to draw on all her strength and courage to make the perilous journey through the desert to seek the aid of an exiled god in a final desperate attempt to take charge of her own destiny. And it sounds so good, and I really think this would be a great book to read for Realmathon, and I am very excited to dive into this one. I mean, these sprayed edges and this cover sold me, so I cannot wait to read this. And then this next book, the first book was a Fiction Falls book club pick for not January. It was a Fiction Pals book club pick for February. And I really enjoyed the story. I think I gave it I originally gave it 4 stars, and I'm thinking of lowering it to about maybe 3.5, but not by much. So I wanted to continue the series. Unfortunately, all my friends that read the book with us for the book club did not like it. However, I want to continue the series and find out what happens. So that's what I plan on doing with this one. This is Lady of Shadows by Melissa K. Roach. It's the second book after Lady of Darkness. And I really would like to continue this series and see what happens. I'm very much interested in where things are going. So I want to read this for Romathon. So for sure, I will be picking this up in March. I'm very excited to see where the story goes. And anyone who did not like the first book, stay tuned. I'll tell you all my thoughts on it as I continue the series. And then now we're down to the very last book of this haul. This just came out in January. It's a sequel to a spin-off series. So the very first series, if you haven't heard of it, is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmer. And that was a great series. It's like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it evolves into something much bigger than that as the series goes. But then she did a spin-off series. The first book was Forging Silver into Stars, I believe, and she just released a second book in that series, the end of January. So we have Carving Shadows into Gold. So this is following the events that happened in Forging Silver into Stars. And I cannot wait to see where the series goes. I have been really enjoying this author a lot lately. I also read her Defy the Night series. Absolutely loved it. That was a 5-star series for me. I even got Ray, my fiance, to read that series, and he loved it. And I read the Curse of Dark and Lonely series, loved that series. And now I want to read the spin-off series and continue and see where things go. And this is technically new characters separate from A Curse of Dark and Lonely series, but set in the same world. So we're just following a set of different characters and what's happening with them. And because this is a sequel, I can't tell you too much about this one. But if you're interested, I highly recommend checking out the first book, Forging Silver into Stars. If you haven't read A Curse of Dark and Lonely series, I recommend starting with that first, just so you have an idea of the world. But it's such a fun series. I think more people should be reading. And I cannot wait to continue my journey and to reading the second book in this series. I might do a reread of the first one because it's been a while since I read the first one. I might save that for a little bit later in the year. But I am very much excited to continue the series and see where this takes me. So that was the last book of this book haul. Have you read any of these books? If you did, I would love to hear your thoughts. And let's see. If you made it this far into the video and you don't feel like being chatty, why don't you leave me I have an idea. Find me a scorpion if you could find one for a Scorpion Queen. If you can't, just give me the closest bug emoji you could find. And that is all for this book haul. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, give me a huge thumbs up. If you want to see more bookish content from me, make sure you smash the subscribe button down below. And I will see you all in the next one.